shift my hips correctly 1 inch. The outside of my hip is right there in the middle of my foot. And not like that, like this.
There you go.
See that? That stayed level there. We want to keep those knees square. We want to keep the hips square and just shift the hips forward.
The most fun that we're having with our job.
Yep.
Next to standing on the range at a major championship with our players is the Porzak Golf Complete Game Clinic. We have two of the most unbelievable locations here in the Southwest and the Northeast. We start off here in San Diego at the Grand Del Mar, one of the best practice facilities in all of California. We have the Fairmont for accommodations.
But I'll tell you what, one of my personal favorites, North Stonington, Connecticut, the Lake of Isles Golf Course, one of the most beautiful and best public courses in the country, right next to the Foxwoods Resort Casino, which is the second largest casino in the country. Incredible facility, incredible place, and really some incredible stuff coming out of there.
You guys, the Porzak Golf Complete Game Clinic covers every aspect of the game. There is not one part of the golf game that's not talked about. We cover everything. So listen, we invite you to join us. Contact us for dates at info@porzakgolf.com. We can't wait to see you.
We're going to start off with all questions about the setup first. And, you know, the funny thing about that is it's always the hip bump. We're going to talk about that hip bump. So, Mike, are there specific questions you have?
There are specific questions,
about the hip bump?
As you guys know, everybody knows about it, but everybody has trouble trying to do it, right? Really,
Right.
I mean, we have online students come back and say, hey, you know, I'm trying to do it. So today we're really going to clarify it for you. We got all of our questions focused on this, and we're going to take you through a step-by-step of how to get it. So, number one, Larry Clark, 8728. I admit that I have trouble with the hip bump, like many of us. It feels like the stack and tilt, but I know Adam says it's different. If I could master that, I would increase accuracy through the bag. Yes, you would. So let's master it.
This is a great spot to start this because this is absolutely not stack and tilt.
Right.
And it's actually the opposite, which is crazy. And this is important to understand. From a neutral position, right? From a neutral position, what I mean by a neutral position, I'm right here. If I kept my sternum still and simply shifted my hips forward, it creates a spine angle that allows me to turn back behind the golf ball, behind the ball, over the inside of my back foot without ever having to try, simply turning around the fixed points I create in my setup. By creating what I call the post, the brace, and the spine angle required to be able to turn behind the golf ball without swaying, rotate and cover it without sliding. How far are we from the outside of our left foot with our left pocket for a right-handed golfer? Okay, well, by the time we do that, you know, if I drew a line down here from the outside of my hip, it's going to be right in the middle of my foot. I'm about 2 inches away from the outside of my left foot, okay? Think about that, guys. Watch, I'll illustrate that really well for us. If I were to shift my hips correctly 1 inch, the outside of my hip is right there in the middle of my foot. The outside of this one is on the inside of this foot. Most people, and this is probably what Larry's feeling, most people when bumping their hips from a neutral position, everything shifts forward, upper body and lower body, and everything starts to lean to the left. Now they're stacked on top of their left side far too much, not going to transfer that weight appropriately. Todd says from a neutral position, the hip bump should be 1 inch left with the chest going 1 inch right for a right-handed golfer. Boom. Most people don't do that. They bump their hip and they move forward. That's probably what's happening to Larry here. So what we're going to need you to do from a neutral position, chest 1 inch this way, hips 1 inch that way, boom. Easy way to do that, stand straight up, boom, straight down, and there's the position required to be able to turn behind the golf ball without swaying, rotate and cover it without sliding. Now let's talk about that. Okay, in the swing, we want to move from instep to instep here, okay, with our chest. Now watch this. If I do the 1 and 1, boom. I create the fixed points to be able to rotate around. Just like Jack Grout's holding Jack Nicklaus's hair. Watch. My head's not going to move, but my chest is completely over the inside of my back foot. Now watch. Just from rotation, chest is completely over the inside of my left foot. That pressure shifting as a result of my upper body turning on top of my lower body. So why it's the opposite of stack and tilt. I'm not pivoting over my lead side. I'm turning behind the golf ball. This hip bump is actually creating a spine angle perpendicular to our pelvis that gets us behind the golf ball. So we're way back behind it so we can actually turn into it and cover it. The beauty of it is your spine angle is just a fixed point that we're rotating around and it's not shifting massively throughout the swing. And that, for most people, is going to make you a tremendous amount more consistent. Okay, the top of the pendulum, if it stays in one place, the bottom's going to stay consistent. You're going to be purely rotating. Okay? We don't preach active lateral movement Lateral movement will happen naturally in the swing. Typically the upper body, the head will move a little off the ball sometimes for players just from their chin, shoulder being touched by their chin and moving it off the ball a little bit. And then, of course, we're swinging 100 miles per hour in this direction, so it's going to move a little bit back to the left. Not that we're actively trying to do that. And that's a big mistake of many instructors out there when teaching the general public. Teaching the weight transfer the wrong way, especially when they teach it with lower body lateral movement. That's what we're trying to avoid. You know, Hogan was pictured, you know, basically framing this brace with a golf club saying, hey, if we had this right here, you're just maintaining that angle to the top of your swing. Absolutely. That brace that you create from that hip bump, you're turning right into it. We don't want to see that pocket or that knee move in that direction. The minute that happens, the weight transfers to the outside of this foot. We lost our anchor point, and now we're moving around all over the golf ball, actively using our hands, not the rotation of our body to square up the club face.
So, you know, that covers up Larry where he's trying to bump his hip and his whole body goes forward. Now, we also see a lot of people who try to bump their hip, and what happens? Their hip doesn't move at all, and then their chest drops back.
Yeah, this is a big one.
I have a feeling this is kind of what iBotch VX33 was asking when he talked about this question. All right, I've been fully on board, but a question, how, if your upper body is leaned back behind the golf ball, do you not hit a ton of fat and thin shots?
So a lot of people simply get the hip bump and the spine angle like this. Todd, let's get another visual from Todd here. Todd used to go like this, and not like that, like this.
There you go.
See that? That stayed level there. You're keeping your hips very square when doing so, so when you watch me bump my hips, I'm not turning them open to the target. I'm not closing them off. I'm just keeping them square and moving them forward. Now, I've always preached, it feels like this right hip pushes 45 degrees back into the left one. Here's why. Because a lot of people, the majority of people, do this when bumping their hips and open their hips up. We want to keep those knees square. We want to keep the hips square and just shift the hips forward. And that's simply a feeling that keeps you in a position that's going to promote your turn. It's going to unlock your body's ability to turn. Another way of knowing if you bump the hips correctly, if you do it wrong, if you open them up, it negates your turn. It restricts your turn. If you do it correctly, it opens up your ability to turn, adds years onto your golfing life, especially when you get a little bit older. So this is a pain-free golf swing. This is a position that's going to help you open up your turn and not feel any tension in your lower back and be able to rotate and cover it and get through the golf ball. Get the left shoulder behind the golf ball. Get the right shoulder pointed towards the target. Two great swing thoughts when you're set up in the right way.
So as you guys go through this, understanding which one you are, getting in the mirror, trying your hip bump. If your whole chest moves forward, guess what? Get the 1 and 1. Hips forward 1 inch, chest back 1 inch.
It might be challenging at first when you're watching it, trying to put it into play for yourself. We try to break it down for you the best way we can in multiple ways, but keep it consistent. We understand, but let me tell you, when you do take lessons with us in person, whether it's our Porzak Golf Complete Game Clinic, a FaceTime session, even just addressing you, we work you into the right spot. Obviously, when you're in person, it's even easier to do. But anything you want to add to that, Mike?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing. We get a lot of people come in, especially from YouTube, which is incredible, and they come in and say, yeah, I've been working on this hip bump for so long, and then we get in there and we see them doing something different. But the common thing throughout every single one of those lessons, everybody says it. When we get our hands on you and put you in the right spot, a light bulb goes off.
So one thing that makes our YouTube channel for you even more valuable is when you actually get to work with us. We have multiple avenues at which you can go down in order to work with us. We have FaceTime lessons. Okay, if you can't get to us in person, it's the next best thing. We have in-person lessons. And we also have our Porzak Golf Complete Game Clinics. You guys, every single one of these options is going to get you better. You can contact info@Porzak Golf to get to us, and you can book any of those three right through that email right there. At Porzak Golf, we take a lot of pride in having developed some of the best and most consistent golf swings on the planet. We do this through simplicity. Our Full Swing Masterclass will take you on a step-by-step, easy-to-understand process on how to get your golf swing better than ever. Join the many before you who've utilized our Full Swing Masterclass to take their games to the next level and beyond.